All right, this is The Law, live audio wrestling, another episode of, what are we calling this here? The Unstable Roundtable, if you will, right? And there you go. Actually, you can see it there. And joining me this time around, none other than one half of the show, live audio wrestling, little Bradie Wedham. Please, if you haven't already gone over to that like button, click on that sumbitch, click on that subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies. Send it to everybody. Airdrop it. Apparently, that's a thing you can do. You can airdrop it to other people. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Joining us again from Draw Straws Raw. Right? Did I get it right that time?
I think I got it right. Nailed it. Tid, you
Raw
fucking nailed it.
Well, that's story of my life before a certain age. And always joining us in the background over there, smartest man in the background ever, KJ, the intern Johnson. KJ,
yes.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing all right.
Rocking and rolling. You ready?
Yeah, sure. Let's get into this.
So KJ suggested tonight that we do a roundtable on his favorite wrestler. KJ, can you let everybody know who your favorite wrestler is if they didn't just watch the opening?
Yeah, Speedball Mike Bailey, a tremendous athlete, as you clearly saw. Highlights from all across.
No, we cut that out.
Generation of wrestling.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, we cut that out, KJ.
I don't know what you're talking about. He's the best, as you clearly saw.
No, in all seriousness, KJ doesn't know much about Speedball. So this is kind of not only are we going to talk about Speedball, and we're going to talk about some fantasy bookings and some things that we can do with the idea of Speedball on our fantasy teams. We're going to fill KJ in on the magic that is Speedball Mike Bailey and his work. So, do you want to start off kind of helping KJ out a little bit?
Why would we pick a guy like Mike Bailey, you might ask? Because clearly there's one person out of four inside of this room right here who doesn't know a whole lot about Mike Bailey. The other three, very much so, but the one doesn't. So this is a perfect opportunity, I would think, to educate somebody and also just kind of talk a little bit about Mike Bailey because, he's really good and he's on top of his game right now, just out there killing it in matches, but is he doing it in the best place that he could be doing it? He's currently working for TNA. Is that the best place for Mike Bailey? And we're going to kind of discover a little bit about Mike Bailey and maybe explore the opportunities of where Mike Bailey is best suited going forward because, contracts don't last forever, ladies and gentlemen. So, Eric, let me ask you first, because you are probably the closest to the resident fanboy that we have here when it comes to wrestling, right?
Well, when Mike Bailey got signed, formerly on SME Network, when it was called Impact, Eric had a podcast called Impactful, where he single-handedly covered Impact for the entire network. So if he knows a thing or two about Mike Bailey.
Yeah, no, I was totally going to give him the opportunity to say all of those things, but thanks, Bradie. Now, you were saying, Eric?
Oh man, yeah. So I'm. It's funny because you guys mentioned it. Yes, I'm definitely the most resident fanboy, especially when it comes to Speedball and Mike Bailey. I've been seeing Speedball and Mike Bailey on the independent scene live for a very long time. Not since he had pants on though in wrestling. That's crazy for me when I actually see that. But anyways, that gear is a completely other story. During his time in Impact, I've gone on paper saying that I think that he's put on one of the matches of the year against Kushida. He keeps on just nailing things completely out of the park as far as his in-ring work goes. He's put on crazy shows for IWS Hardcore in Montreal, and then the next week following up in Toronto for GCW. And this guy just has been killing it for a very long time. The only thing that I've always felt that he lacks, and it's unfortunate, right? Because it's that old adage, like, look like Tarzan, sound like Jane. Unfortunately, he's just got to get a mouthpiece to really push him. So where he is right now in TNA, I don't know if that mouthpiece truly exists, but could he be somewhere else? I mean, could he be AEW bound? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want a guy like Speedball on your roster at least for a few years? I think he'll bolster whatever division you put him in anywhere he goes.
Bradie?
Well, I think Mike right now, if he can get his contract extended or keep his contract around with TNA, I think for the next year or so, I would wait it out if I was him. I think that if anybody knows Speedball's career, he was banned from the United States. This happens in Canada quite a bit. He was stuck here for a couple of years and could only work here. So during the boom of the WWE signing indie people and AEW starting up, Speedball was kind of on lockdown. But now that he's not, I would assume he has free reign to kind of go wherever he wants. And I would assume that comes with a contract with TNA. So jeopardizing that's not saying he wouldn't get it if he went anywhere else, but jeopardizing that and still keeping his booking schedule open, doing what he wants on Twitch, which if anybody go follow his Twitch, it's fantastic. He started it during the pandemic and it is going stronger than ever. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think Speedball and AEW would get paid. I always want to see somebody I know get paid very good money. That's the whole goal here. Keep yourself safe and get paid. But the first thing is what I just said. Keep yourself safe. And I've seen Mike go crazy. We've all seen Mike go crazy. PWG, TNA, he goes hard. When he goes, he goes. And I'm worried that if he doesn't have somebody, kind of holding him in place, he'll go out there and do, a 680 off of the stage.
KJ, you saw Mike Bailey recently live in a match, right? For a GCW show. What was your experience like?
I thought he was good. He was the main event of that show from what I can remember. Unfortunately, I can't remember the person's name that he was facing. Can't pronounce it, more like. But the bits that I saw of Mike Bailey, I thought they put on a good match. I thought they worked quite well together. It was a bit of a hardcore / indie high spot kind of match, which I thought kind of molded itself really nicely together. It was intergender as well, which I'm always a big fan of, seeing more of that incorporating, because I think that's a very interesting avenue to go down, and seeing it more and more is just intriguing, seeing as you didn't really get a lot of it, especially not when I was watching mainstream wrestling. So I liked what I saw from Mike Bailey, but it just being the one match, I feel like I kind of got only a small fraction of what I suppose he's capable of.
Yeah, usually what you see, here's what I see, what you see with Mike Bailey lately is you're going to get the hits. Like
Mhm.
he's doing his world tour right now. Like he's got access to the United States and he's hitting all of the shows, all of the big shows, and you're getting all of his hits. You're getting his, his moonsault from the, springboard moonsault to the outside. You're getting the knees. You're getting the kicks. You're getting all of the kicks. You're getting more kicks and then a few more kicks. Like Mike Bailey is precise with his feet. There's no doubt about it. Mike Bailey doesn't look like a WWE wrestler. This is, and I get it. I get it what you're saying with the AEW stuff, but Mike Bailey and AEW, I think, I mean, if I'm just saying it, I think that he ends up like an Orange Cassidy. I think that he ends up being overused in a place like AEW and probably to his body's detriment.
So
Bradie?
basically, I think that if Speedball was to go like the Muscle Shark, they were to get him on everything, and he looked like a Sean Shirk walking out there. If anybody knows who Sean Shirk is,
He wouldn't be able to work the way that he does.
and that's exactly what I was going to say. And they're going to slow his work down a little bit. I think that he would get over in WWE because he's short and he's stocky. Like when I first met Speedball, I had watched him for years, right? And he came up and did a show up here, and I had met him, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like you're actually you're a pretty thick dude. Like you're as tall as I am, but you're a pretty thick dude. Like he could be a little muscle shark, but you're right, it screws up his agility. He's used to being this size.
Now we're talking about going to AEW, right?
Let's
We're
do it.
talking
Yeah.
about WWE or anything like that. But I mean, are we really just automatically throwing it out of the realm that TNA is actually the best fit for Mike Bailey, or that Japan is out of the equation for Mike Bailey? Because I mean, Japan might be a very good fit. What do you think, Eric?
I mean, Japan could be a really good fit because ultimately they are going to put things over in the ring a little bit more than they're going to do promos and stuff like that. They're going to work on, sometimes translation with a lot of their stars that they have coming in from other places. The thing that I was also considering too is it's a good spot for him to be in, to stay in TNA for a few years, especially as we continue to see the NXT TNA infiltration. We've seen Jordan Grace, we've seen the Rascals, we've seen Joe Henry, who is now apparently showing up on the WWE roster page. So these are, all good signs for him to stay within that company, continue to be able to work these independents, do these world tours, because listen, ultimately at WrestleCon, I'm sure that he's not selling too many autographs, but I'm sure he's selling some merch. I'm sure he's definitely getting out there, and he's getting paid for these big independent bookings. We do know that, especially over WrestleMania weekend, especially over SummerSlam weekend, he has to be getting a decent bag to show up for these events. And like KJ said, be in the main event of a lot of them.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then. If he stays in TNA, and just to get those shots in WWE with the crossover stuff with NXT and whatnot, I mean, he does have a very good chance of becoming champion very soon. He's got Slammiversary coming up next week.
He's the next champ. He's the next
fighting
champ.
Mustafa Ali. I mean, spoiler alert, but I don't know how many shows on Mustafa's deal that he has. You're in Montreal. Like, the stars are pretty much aligned that a belt is going to end up on, on Mike
We
Bailey.
can almost guarantee that. We can
So
almost
then
guarantee
if that's the case, then you've got is there more of a chance of him being involved in some of the crossover stuff with NXT, or is he one of the guys, because they put a belt on him, that they can keep him back and hold back on him?
Well, I think that it's nice to see a belt show up on NXT from TNA and vice versa. So
Okay.
I think if he holds the title, there's a better chance that he would show up if he's just another roster member. KJ, what do you think, buddy?
I would hate to kind of see him in the WWE or in AEW. And the reason that I kind of say this is because, based on the stuff that I hear and based on the highlights and all that business, it's the rosters at the moment feel very, very bloated. When I look at AEW's kind of roster, I feel like everybody's just struggling to get 5 minutes of TV time. And there's always some type of new big star that they're kind of bringing into AEW to help bolster and take up a lot of airspace, like Adam Copeland, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, these people. And I'm not saying that Mike Bailey is above or below these people. I'm saying that, to find a spot on such a bloated roster, that you have to go to either Dark, ROH, Dynamite, fucking Collision, all of this, just in order to find a couple minutes of airtime. And I would say the same thing with WWE as well. It's a huge amount of roster, and because they are an entertainment and promo type place, 20-minute promos are the name of the game. And I think the last couple of weeks has been less than an hour to 90 minutes of wrestling over across those 2 show periods. And that's where Mike Bailey seems to excel. So I feel it would be best for him to stay in a TNA or a Japan or something where wrestling is the name of the game, and he can shine in a smaller pool but that feels like the wrong terminology, but I hope people know what I mean by that.
Hey, yeah, we do. Shut up. Eric?
Yep, I'm here.
Let's say you did put him in the WWE, or you did put him in AEW. You mentioned earlier that you'd have to put him, like, he'd need some kind of a mouthpiece. And this is one of the things that I've said, that it's going to kind of be even a detriment to in TNA, is it not? Like, listen, Mike is fantastic with his feet and his work and his in-ring performances and stuff like that. But I mean, he's got that accent that some people may not like.
Do you want to fight me?
I mean, one of the absolutely okay. Absolutely one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time, Georges St. Pierre. Right? You always loved watching him fight, but man, you didn't really like watching and listening to him talk because it just wasn't exciting. You know what I mean?
Listen,
aliens are coming to get me.
So what do you do? What do you do with a Mike Bailey if you were to put him over into AEW or NXT? Who do you put with him?
I'm not sure exactly who you would put with him, right? But like earlier on today, I was thinking about like, what if you bring in Speedball as some type of crazy karate destroyer? He comes in, look at the way that they've booked Jacob Fatu, right? Jacob Fatu has always been a killer and a beast in MLW, but he's never been unstoppable. In WWE, they've booked him as entirely unstoppable. Now, I don't think Mike Bailey could get away with that same role, but he could definitely have that Ultimate Fighter style of role where he just keeps going. He's hard to stop. He's going to knock you out. Maybe you can even throw that gimmick in from time to time. Just imagine if he had, like, say, for example, there's no bloodline going on, and he's a Paul Heyman guy, right? Like, just say something like that would happen. That's the mouthpiece who could definitely get you over, right? And that's the way that I think this would work.
Okay, so he's going to stay in TNA. I got it. Speedball by Elegance. George comes out there and slides down the ramp every time Speedball comes out. He just wipes out and slides down the ramp.
Okay. So, anyways, guys, listen. Apparently, he needs time out for that one because that's just. I don't
necessarily know if he needs a mouthpiece.
He does, and here's why I say that, because I think that he could get a lot further over. Otherwise, does Mike Bailey end up being the next Steve Blackman?
I mean,
he's got that there's that karate background, there's that whole thing. Next thing you know, he's in WWE and they got him coming out with weapons to the ring that he can't use or something like that. And you know what I mean? And it turns into this hokey kind of thing. That would be my favorite.
We appreciate Steve Blackman a lot more now than we did when he was actually wrestling too, right? Like it seems like he's one of those nostalgic guys when we look back now. We're like, oh, everybody loves Steve Blackman. But with that being said, we can't think about the title runs. We can't think about anything outside of like the hardcore division and stuff like that. So you don't want to see Speedball fall into entire irrelevance if he was to go into one of these big companies. And like KJ said, that is definitely a threat with the rosters that you have in AEW and WWE.
KJ.
I was gonna say, just like maybe not necessarily a Steve Blackman, but if I were to put a spot for him based on somebody of the past, Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock would have been somebody that was MMA background, mixed martial arts type deal, and Bailey, I would say, has a bit more charisma or gravitas above that. And Ken Shamrock was a pretty decorated person in the WWE, and he never had a mouthpiece. And yet he was, Intercontinental Champion, King of the Ring. Like, he had a good upper mid-card kind of niche, which, I mean, Mike Bailey could fit that slot very, very nicely. I think not everybody needs to be main event Universal WWE champion all the time. I don't think that's obviously we have our favorites, and when they get signed, we're like, ooh, yeah, they could definitely be champion. They can carry the company. But it's like
I had another idea. I got it.
Yeah.
So if he goes to WWE, his mouthpiece, Steve Blackman.
No. Jesus. You're just full of them. You're just
I think fucking Sunday night, man. That's how we roll.
All right.
Here.
If you want to go that far, then I think that he just gets rid of the Speedball Mike Bailey thing and goes like full Monsieur Baguette, full time.
Okay, his Impact, the gimmick character that they were doing on Impact, yeah,
exactly. So I mean, listen, he's already used to doing some silly characters.
Yep.
Is Rick Martel still alive?
I don't know what relevance that has to this conversation.
Rick Martel, you can throw him into the hat. I am a model. We're just throwing mouthpieces out there. The Rick Martel has got to be a bit above fucking Steve Blackman.
All right. Okay. Well, before we roll this right out, we'll all take a quick plug for yourself and just tell us where do you think is the best place for Mike Bailey? No details, just the company. Chris, you wanna take this?
Listen, I think personally the best place for Mike Bailey is wherever Mike Bailey feels comfortable. Mike Bailey is the salt of the earth. He is a fantastic human being. If you've ever had a chance to meet Mike Bailey, you will never meet a nicer guy. He can never be that kind of a heel in wrestling if you ever know him. That's the problem. Mike Bailey is very, very talented. Mike Bailey is also in there with a lot of very, very talented dudes. So he's got to do a little bit of silly stuff to stand out. Where do I think Mike Bailey belongs right now? I think Mike Bailey, is best suited doing exactly what he's doing right now. We all look at it like we want to see him on AEW or we want to see him on WWE. But at the end of the day, it's all really about what Mike Bailey wants. And Mike Bailey's going to be the TNA champion, and he's going to have to negotiate some new contract stuff with TNA. So I'm sure they have a lot of faith in Mike Bailey. Hopefully they pay him out. That's where I think Mike Bailey belongs.
KJ, what do you think, buddy?
Put him in New Japan. I think he belongs in New Japan for a nice lucrative run. I think that would be nice.
Eric, what do you think?
I think he's got to stay in TNA. I think he's good where he is right now, and I think if you put him anywhere else, he's irrelevant really fast. So it's good where he is, and he's just a great guy. So if he's happy there, just keep being happy and keep enjoying life.
As I've said before, and I will say it again, ask for a raise or go somewhere else that can actually meet the money that you're worth. But I'm happy with, like Chris said, I'm happy with whatever he's happy with. I just want to see the guy succeed. I want to see him on TV. I also want to see TNA do as best as it possibly can. Let's get that up to an even 3-player, and we can go from there. But thank you very much, everybody, for being here for another Unstable Roundtable. I don't know what else to say, but Chris, we'll leave it with you.
You know what I always say, ladies and gentlemen. KJ, what do I always say? Be sure to click that subscribe button, click that like button, and tell all of your friends. Share it with everybody. We appreciate you just as much as you appreciate us. So let's make this thing even bigger.